I'm not home yet.
What the hell, man? How
I know.
far?
I'm at Publix and I got to go stop and pick up something else, and then I'll be home.
But you knew 6 o'clock, so why are you hitting Publix first?
I have no choice. Gotta get food.
You get food after.
No, no, no.
You are the fucking
Listen,
absolute worst partner to work with I could ever fucking imagine. The only thing is we have no money for you to fucking steal from me. That's it.
all
But the
right.
rest of this is the fucking bullshit.
All right. Goodbye.
Oh my god, I'm keeping this in.
Goodbye.
Bye. You there?
Yeah.
Ah, four drinks in, hour and a half later. Let's get this going.
Here we go. Did you find your cord?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd need it, but like I said, hour and a half later, here we are.
Here we are. Gotta bring that up.
Huh? You're lucky I don't include the last 5 minutes of me screaming and yelling at you.
Honestly, you should have. It may have gotten us back on the view chart.
Well, you showing up and doing a few of these would also get us back on the view chart.
Well, look, you're lucky I lined up a really solid guest for next week.
Don't spend the whole podcast selling the next podcast, but bring something else.
Oh, listen, I have nothing to sell on that one.
No, Howard Brody is going to be a fantastic fucking interview. It is going to be extremely entertaining, and as long as Howard can has a little bit of thickness to his skin, we're going to have a fucking blast.
Well, I will tell you, I spoke to him today, just a little prequel, and he had asked me what are we looking to talk about, and I said, well, he's got a very rich history in wrestling. Number one, NWA. He's worked with a lot of top guys. We want to talk about that.
He's written biographies for people like fucking Dusty.
Dusty, right, and he wrote his own book, and I said we really kind of want to dive into that, and I said we want to talk about Ring Warriors, and I said I want to know like the Slambino creation because there's apparently a story that I don't even know. He's never even told me on the creation of the Slambinos, which is I didn't know there was a story.
The Slambinos, by the way, is a group of wrestling characters, Italian characters, and you were one of them. So in case people don't know what the Slambinos are or your connection to them.
Right. So he said there's a story that I don't even know about it. And I was like, whoa, what? I said, don't even tell me. I want to hear firsthand on the air because if I don't know it, I want to be surprised genuinely as well. And he said it's really good. Like, he's like, it's going to blow your mind.
I can't wait till we throw trigger words at him, like throw some names at him, like Vito and...
Right. He likes Vito, though, so I don't know. But anyway, he did ask me, can we talk about the rib? And I said, the rib? What are you talking about? He said, am I allowed to talk about the rib that Jackie and Ben with the balls? And I said, allowed to? We're talking about that. And he said, oh, good. I can't wait.
Where I sent Howard a picture of my balls. Yeah. Technically, they weren't even my balls to him through Jackie's phone. Yeah, that's a great story because we got both sides of it here.
Right. So, and he was like, I just want to let you know, once you get me going, though, it's going to be longer than an hour. And my exact words to him were, if we go longer, we'll just split it up into 2 episodes. And when I told you that earlier, you said the same thing. So
I have to.
He was like,
perfect,
I honestly
because
think we're show 2 hours.
Show all the time. Right. So if we've got extra Howard interview, that'll save your ass once.
Right. So I feel like we're gonna have. So he, I did tell him that I would come up with some other things. I told him I'd read his book. I'm not really reading it, but I'll come up with some other questions.
If I could get the book in time and read it in time for Sunday.
I don't know where it is because I have it. I just can't find it.
Well, I'm saying I would order it on Amazon and read it because I'm sure there's stuff in there that's going to fascinate me.
Right.
And I'm going to have questions about, but it's not like this is the only time we'll ever talk to him. So.
Right. So,
I'll just claim the Jew card. You never gave me one, and I'm not buying it.
Right. Well, he asked me, "Do you guys ever have guests on?" And I said, "Well, I said we had that Jabron Billy Fives on a couple times." I said, "But it was just, it was to build the match with me and him because he's not a draw down in Florida like he used to be." So, and then I said we had Bobby on, and he said, "Did you have Bobby tell the kidney story and the finger?" I go, "But literally the only reason we had him on was to tell those stories." So now he felt the pressure that he had to like tell good stories.
Right.
So,
We had a man on that was the first and last man to ever auction a body organ on eBay, and offered to cut his finger off for a promoter for a wrestling match as a like loser loses his pinky kind of match. Those are some fucking high hurdles to top.
Right.
Yeah. Set the bar high,
so,
Bobby.
Right. But Howard said he's got really good stories. He's got some good stuff, stuff we don't know about, maybe we've never heard. So if you're a wrestling fan, this guy, and again, he was part of some pretty big stuff.
Yeah, sure.
NWA, and he was on WWE Raw once, representing NWA.
Yep, stood there in a very nice suit in the ring. It was very impressive.
Right, very nice suit, right. So
did he speak? Did he have a speaking spot?
I think he did say something, and then he couldn't get out of the ring. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to ask him about all that stuff. So it should be, to me, it's probably going to be one of our best. If you're a wrestling fan,
he might have
going to be a good podcast.
He might have a good Jackie story to tell, too.
He did ask me, could we tell Jackie stories? I said, of course
we do them all the time.
Right. And then,
we have an anniversary podcast about leaving Jackie in Orlando, of course.
Right, every year. So, So we kind of did a little touch base today. We were on the phone for 30 minutes just discussing it. Should be a pretty good podcast.
And you guys
maybe we may get two out of it.
And you guys will hear and be able to judge if Anthony's his high voiced impersonation of him is on target or not.
Yeah. We'll I may even throw it in there while he's on the air and ask him what he thinks of it. So, yeah.
I love it.
So, I hate to stick with wrestling news, but I feel like
I know where
you know where I'm going, but I will say this, just a side note. So I do know that people who in the UK who have listened to our show and listen here and there, they are really big wrestling fans. So wrestling attracts them, right?
Can I just put a pause for a second?
Right.
I just want to let you. I'm still out of breath from yelling at you. By the way,
I could tell. I knew you were. You were huffing and puffing.
Yeah, I'm still out of breath from yelling at you. By the way, go ahead.
I could tell. So, MJF, we have to talk about it. If you don't watch AEW and you didn't see Maxwell Jacob Friedman's promo last night, interview or whatever you want to call it, if you don't know what a promo is, it's speaking in the ring. This is really, wrestling fans will understand this.
It was probably the most perfect segment that a large promotion has run in probably 5 to 10 years.
Right. Now, I watched it again today.
Yeah, so did I. First thing I did
was on
this
a conference
morning.
call.
First thing I did
was bored. On the conference call, so I put it on. I got goosebumps. Listen, he
doesn't even run too long with it.
No, and you know what? It didn't sound like he was reading a script. It sounded real. It had emotion.
That's the magic of him, is that it's not scripted, and he didn't fumble once.
Right. And what I noticed the most was I heard Tommy Dreamer today kind of shitting on it a little bit, where he was like, is he a healer? Is he a baby? Tommy Dreamer, this isn't fucking 1996. Stop it.
He's Stone Cold. He's the heel that's so over, people cheer for him.
Right. But what did you notice? The crowd cheered.
Turned.
But when they shit on him, when he shit on the crowd, they booed.
Right.
But then 2 seconds later, they're cheering.
Well, because he's talking about things,
and they booed
because he shifted. He's shitting on them first half of the thing and shitting on a bunch of stuff and putting himself over, and then he starts saying some things that are really true, and that all the work shoot stuff. And work shoot means like shoot means it's real, and work means it's they're working you. It's fake. And a work shoot means they take something that was real and turn it into a work. It goes from a shoot to a work, and it's like they take something from real life and make it storyline. So what they did was he's been fighting with them about getting paid more, and they have apparently, since he no-showed that like autograph signing, and then was forced to show up for the pay-per-view and do the job in the blow-off match for his program with Wardlow, that they had a sit down obviously on Monday, and they worked everything out. And they said, there's no way we can't use this now. Everyone's aware of it. So let's make it the meat of your storyline going forward. And I think that, like, you listen, and the fans just get totally... In one fucking promo, he goes from having the fans booing him about as loud as he's ever been booed in his life.
Right.
Shut the fuck up chants, et cetera, to cheering the shit out of him. And it's great because he, at the end of it, he demands to be fired, staring right in the camera, and calls the owner of the company a fucking mark, which they bleep.
Right.
He then keeps going, but the mic's turned off.
Right.
Which is like would be what would happen if you're a live broadcast on TBS and the guy drops the F-bomb. You only have that 1 7-second delay. You can't leave him talking. So you would obviously cut his mic, and then he says like one more sentence or two, realizes the mic's off, and then they cut to black and go to commercial, which is all exactly what you would do if things went completely off the rails and someone went into business for themselves. And then the rest of the show, nobody acknowledges it like it never fucking happened.
Right.
Perfect segment. Perfect.
Right. And they had, I seen on Twitter, CM Punk had come out after, and he went in, and MJF took off from the crowd. Yeah. Like Punk was kind of trying to calm him down, but they didn't.
I don't know if he was trying to calm. I don't know if he was trying to calm him down. He came down with one boot on, like it was he stopped in the middle of taking his boots off because he had wrestled right before that. Was kind of limping. Came to the ring. Maybe he was going to try to talk to him like a man. Maybe he was going to confront him. We don't know. And I heard also Matt Jackson came out at the top of the ramp, but didn't come down. Was just like what the making those gestures like what the fuck, man. So and now here's the irony, is that it kind of there's elements of a few different classic things going on here. It's kind of like Stone Cold versus Vince. It's kind of the pipe bomb era, summer of CM Punk, when CM Punk was kind of against the company and using all these real kind of work shooting, talking about real stuff, but making it a storyline. And the irony is that now Punk has become the like Cena in that scenario. I think when Punk was originally in that segment, Cena was like the golden boy of the company, and he was like kind of like the foil bound, like using him as example, like, oh, you back him, but me, I'm way better than him, et cetera, et cetera. And now you've got the young guy, and Punk's kind of won the belt the night before, is now the face of the company. Is happy to be there, loves everybody, happy little fucking interviews, et cetera, loves the boss, loves everything. And now you have the young guy going through what Punk was going through. So it's really...
So there's one more you missed.
Yeah.
I feel it's Austin and Brett. When Brett became the heel and Austin became the babyface. MJF is Austin, Punk is Brett.
Sorta, except it's not. That all flipped as. See, that's different a little bit. I mean, they're all different. None of them are the same. Like I said, there's parallels to a lot of things. It's not like, and like I saw some people saying that they're stealing from the Sasha storyline, and I'm like, trust me, this has nothing to do with Sasha Banks and what's going on there right now. They're not biting off of that at all.
No,
totally different thing. But it could be, except that Austin became the baby after their
during
feud.
The promos,
kind of after the feud, where he wouldn't tap out and he bled. He was bleeding and passed out, in that Iron Man match, and people
But
started.
people were cheer. Right.
Yeah.
Now here's the other thing. I watched it again today, so uh, I'm just gonna say what my prediction is. Is great story, great work. Got everybody fooled. Nobody knows what's going on. In the promo, he says, "I am the best in the world."
I know.
I mean, he's going after Punk. Like,
I don't.
him
It's
and Punk,
weird because they just had a series that
yeah,
had a couple,
but
and now Punk's. Here's the problem: if you have him work with Punk again after he just won the belt, what does Punk lose it 3 months later and have that really short reign?
yeah,
because he can't.
sure.
He
How
can't.
about this?
You can't have him work a new program with MJF and MJF loses.
Right. Here's my thing. What if he beats Punk in Chicago at All Out? What a riot that would cause. MJF beats CM Punk in Chicago, in Punk's hometown. That would be insane. That's in like September.
I just feel like
right?
if he's at odds with the boss isn't going to want to give him a fucking title match.
Yeah, but I think they're playing that role of Punk, like you said, comes out with the one boot on, Punk's the Cena, and he'll be the guy to say, no, let's give him a chance. You want to fight? We'll fight.
Maybe.
I've been in your shoes before.
Right. Like I could empathize with you more than anyone. But
right. I've been there. Right.
I think the main problem, I'm waiting to see how they handle it, is it's not going to work if TK's an actual character. If Tony Khan's an actual character is, he can be the worst. Invisible thing in the back that doesn't even acknowledge that there's a problem with MJF or sends people out to give the directives that you have to be here, you're under contract, you have to wrestle, you're wrestling this guy, this is your job, you don't get a choice. But TK can't do it because he's fucking awful when he's on camera performing. When he's like doing an interview in the back, he's fine. When he is, quote, performing, he is the drizzling shits.
Right.
He's no Vince McMahon for sure. So he's no Eric Bischoff. He's none of those, quote, establishment figureheads.
No, right. He's just weird and awkward and like
totally.
He cannot be on the mic. Right.
He's like fucking on the spectrum, the whole deal.
Right. Coked up. I mean, you name it.
Well, that's the thing. He does. I don't think he does coke, but he's a wiry, crazy fucking dude.
That guy doesn't sleep.
That dude's probably just on coffee and Adderall or something like that.
Right.
Well,
and I mean, calling him what did he call him? A statistic.
Stat guy.
Marker.
Stat guy.
Stat guy
Tony in the back. He did call him a fucking mark. He also said he belonged on the other side of the barricade with the other fans.
Right.
Some good stuff,
Oh, great stuff. Right. The whole WWE, paying your ex-WWE guys more.
Yeah. I mean, he said WWE like 3 times in that promo.
3 times. Right. So, yeah, it was just watching it again today. I was like, wow. I mean, it's even better. It was one of the best things I've ever seen in wrestling.
And usually there's at least some criticism, like it went too long,
right,
or they flubbed something, or so. No, this whole thing went off without a hitch.
Right, it was not long. It was It was simple.
It flowed. He was seething.
Yeah,
like you could see, like he channeled what he probably actually felt like a day or two before. You know what I mean?
Right, because his veins were. His facial expression.
He was like his body was vibrating. At one point, it was like that Stan's Flair does with the
it was like Flair. Right,
with the body shaking and staring at the camera, yelling.
Right, like he came off like a Ric Flair type. Angry.
It was like Flair being mad at Bischoff.
Right.
During that time.
Yeah.
When they ended up taking the Horsemen off TV for a while.
Right. No, that was a fantastic piece. Now, the only thing that I was also worried about going into last night, worried like I care, but I mean, I do like AEW.
That was a monster show, by the way.
Monster show. Crowd was on fire, start to finish.
But they delivered. Like they knew. They knew they had to deliver.
Right.
For LA.
But the other thing I was worried about was Wardlow. Wardlow coming off the MJF, beating MJF, squashing him. Like, where do you go next with him? And when he came out and he beat JD Drake, which I've wrestled JD before, chops hard as piss. I mean, his chops are,
He's a good worker. He just doesn't, he's one of those guys that, like, doesn't look like a pro wrestler. He's like
right, but he's so good in the ring.
Visually fails
Right.
every fucking,
Right.
look test, eye test, or
But I will
whatever you want
tell
to call
you,
it.
I noticed something from JD last night, and I said I've worked him before. He hit so hard. He took two perfect power bomb bumps. They were so flat. I was like I've taken power bombs
Well,
before.
that's why
They fucking hurt.
that's why they gave it.
He was
That's why they
good.
fed him to him.
Of course they did.
Because
And I
he's
saw
like a perfect like 20,
right,
22 brawler,
right,
Brooklyn
right.
Brawler type. He's a Rusty
And
Brooks or whatever you want. Any
right,
of
he
those
is
guys, perfect.
one of those journeymen who, yeah, like he could, you could put him with anybody,
At,
and he's gonna get the
at
job
first,
done. His bumps were perfect.
I was a little disappointed because you're like, I kind of wanted a bigger guy to feed to Warlow in that situation,
Right.
but at the same time, it just feels better if he just totally squashes someone. Like I almost wanted them to switch. If you're gonna have a John Morrison or Johnny Impact or
Right.
Johnny Elite or whatever he call it, like literally every come. I think he's wrestling for GCW and he's Johnny Game Changer. It's like it's
Right.
such a ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous
funny.
gimmick, but it's hilarious. That
Right.
that was like almost like, man, you should feed him the Wardlow. But I mean, if you really want to
Right.
have like Morrison with the company, I don't know. They've jobbed him out twice to like at least let him have a little bit of a match that he had with Miro. But I thought
Right.
Miro should have come and squashed someone as quickly. He should have had a JD Drake too, is what I'm
Right,
saying
right.
for his return.
Right. I understand. Yeah. And so anyway, JD took two perfect power bombs.
Yeah.
And side note, I saw today online someone made a comment on Facebook or Twitter, burying JD Drake, saying, basically calling him like because he doesn't look the part per se, which I don't even know what that means anymore. But
right? Does Adam Cole look the part?
guy.
Does Adam Cole look the part?
No.
They
right.
probably fucking blow that guy on Twitter,
Right. So this guy kind of buried him, and it got reposted a bunch of times. And I'm like, man, that Mark couldn't be any more off. Like this, to call that guy like, what? He is a fucking workhorse. Because if you think about it, he's been on TV in some capacity Wednesday or Friday almost every week in some way or another getting squashed. He was like 2 weeks ago, him and Anthony Henry got squashed in a
I
tag
don't know.
match.
I still think he's on the Monday and Tuesday shows more than the Wednesday and Friday
Well,
shows.
he was on Wednesday. On 2 weeks ago, he got squashed in a tag match. Okay. But he does the darks. But to shit on that guy, first of all, like you're an idiot. I mean, like he can work. I worked him.
Right.
When I'd say I worked him outside, and it was a thunderstorm. Billy Gunn was on that show, and it was raining, so we had to stay in this tent, and lightning was striking. It was fucking insane. Anyway, they wouldn't let us in the building. We had to sit in this tent while lightning was striking. Anyway, we go out there to work, and the ring is, they tried to dry it. It's soaking fucking wet. So the two of us veterans, I've been around a long time, you've been around a long time. We're like, look, we got to be careful because, at the time I wasn't trying to do anything, and he was just starting to get like.
Was it
really
canvas or was it that plastic?
It was like canvas, but it was so wet, it was slippery.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
And at that time, he had just started like getting major bookings like all over the country. And I'm just a fat guy who was just still trying to work for, my friends in South Carolina. I remember telling like, hey, I was more concerned being easy for him because I didn't want him to get hurt because I knew he had some cool stuff coming up. So I was like, hey, let's be careful. But, man, he hit hard, which was great because I could hit hard back and he didn't bitch about it. And we literally beat the piss out of each other for 10 minutes and, he won the match, whatever, with a crazy lariat that he like took my head off with. But it was the only time I ever worked him, and it was fantastic. We just beat the shit out of him. I don't even think we hit the ropes because that was our thing. It was like we can't even hit the ropes. Everything was so wet. But I had a good match with him. Anyway, Wardlow. When it happened, I thought like he powerbombed him twice. He pinned him. I thought the crowd was kind of. He wasn't getting the Wardlow pop he was getting during the MJF feud. I almost feel like it was like maybe they were a little bit confused too. But
he's not beating.
Right.
Like this is just a random guy. He's not beating the guy who holds his freedom over his head. You know what I mean? Obviously, the pop's going to be of a different proportion.
But then I was thinking as it was happening, like where did they go? Like what do you do with this guy now? Like, I mean, you
TNT
got to
title.
keep him hot.
TNT title.
But the minute the guy came out with the lawsuit for the security guards, I was like, holy shit. They found a way for him to continue to powerbomb security guards, which was over for the last however many weeks. The minute he powerbombed that big dude that was in the ring of security, the place went absolutely apeshit again. And I was like, oh my God, they literally found a way where he's literally, he's not going to,
but
it's
the
same gimmick except for MJF. Now he's going against the lawsuit.
Yeah, but they haven't presented a person he's actually fighting. Like there's no real wrestler.
The lawsuit.
You can't powerbomb a lawsuit, and you can't powerbomb the lawyer more than once because he's playing a guy that can't wrestle.
Here's the thing.
So what does the lawyer keep bringing in wrestlers for him to fight?
Right. It's the same thing like MJF was doing.
It's a little redundant. With less of a coming out of it, you know, you
wrestling fans, we're not the smartest people.
No.
So, like,
just
when you powerbomb the big guy and the place went apeshit, I go, oh my God, he could power security for the next 3 to 4 weeks and then finally powerbomb the lawyer. And you just gave you 5-6 weeks of programming just to powerbomb a lawyer.
Just to buy yourself time until you can figure something else out.
Figure something else out.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you're right. Wrestling fans, they're like fucking mushrooms. Just keep them in the dark and feed them shit. They'll still grow.
Right, we're still here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we went through the gobbledygooker, TL Hopper,
Mantar,
Duke the Drumster Drosy era. Yeah, the Mummy.
Roadblock.
I mean, right. Yeah. And your favorite, Shockmaster. So we've been through it all.
How's it my favorite?
We've been through the whole. Because I feel like once a week you send one of those from the Shockmaster page. You send a TikTok.
Well, there's a TikTok page that once a week the guy does a Shockmaster voice, and he says some words of wisdom. And then they roll the Shockmaster clip backwards as if Shockmaster has delivered his message to Sid and Sting and Luger or whoever's standing there. And then he kind of stumbles back through the wall, and the wall reheals itself. It's hilarious. Like, my work here is done, and he goes back.
Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
But once a week, you do send a Shockmaster.
Because he makes one once a week, and they're all golden. They're gems.
They are. They're great. Right. If you're not following that account, you're missing out.
Right.
There's no doubt. But yeah, we went through that era of wrestling where wrestling fucking sucked for a really long time. Like, because I even remember, I don't know if you went through this.
If you changed the channel to USA or Fox, it still really sucks right now.
Right. This is true as well. This is true. But, like, there was a point in my time it had to be that era where the wrestling was, I stopped watching because I honestly didn't understand. It was Attitude Era.
Yeah, like pre-NWO.
Right. I stopped watching.
I wasn't watching because that was me back from college. Like, that era, I was in college. So I wasn't watching anyways. Well, I didn't have to deal with the Doink, the clown era of fucking wrestling.
I hated it.
The In Your House era of wrestling, right? Basically.
In Your House, right. Yeah. That era was awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. That wrestling, I mean, it wasn't fun to watch. I stopped watching. I couldn't watch it then. But then, you know, obviously the Attitude NWO era, that whole era, like, brought everybody back to wrestling because you were like, okay, this is fucking cool again. Because it was not cool for a really long time.
Right.
Yeah. You had clowns and turkeys and fucking, you know, bums and you name it. Plumbers. I mean, it was ridiculous. The stuff, Garbage Men.
Repo Man.
It was ridiculous. Right. I forgot about that. The Repo Man. Right. Yeah. I mean, that era of wrestling was, I mean, they even managed to somehow make Tito Santana a fucking, the most racist thing in history.
Was he like a matador?
A matador. And called him El Matador. Right. Like because he was Hispanic, he was a bullfighter.
He was Mexican, yeah.
Right. And they made him wear this, like, the funny thing is, I think he's like Puerto Rican. And they made him
probably, you know, close in wrestling. Close enough is good enough. Like, if you're any kind of Asian and you're fat, you're gonna be Japanese sumo. If you're you know what I mean, or a ninja, You know, it was like,
right.
it didn't matter if you were like, you know,
It didn't matter, right?
yeah,
Right. They were racist back in the day,
yeah.
sure, for sure.
A,
I mean,
anyone from a brown country that wasn't Asia
right.
immediately was like Indian or like a terrorist, you know?
They made Tony Atlas Samba Simba. Do you remember that?
Samba Simba.
They made him an African, like he was from The Lion King. Like how? Who sat there and thought that was a good idea to make the black guy this African? He's like, it was not even like anybody knows Tony Atlas. Nothing like him
No.
personally at all. Uh, and they made him, and then they put Akeem as the black guy, but he was a white guy. That was,
Well,
you know,
Akeem the African Dream, but
right. But he was white.
but he was from South Africa, the
Right.
white part.
Right. Right.
Wearing a bright blue and yellow costume with this ridiculous kind of
Right.
top hatty thing.
But tag teams with the big boss man who was a prison guard from Cobb County,
Cobb
Texas,
County, Georgia.
right?
Cobb County,
Cobb County,
Georgia.
Georgia. Yeah, right. Cobb County, Georgia, and like it didn't even make any
Like
sense.
that lets you know without letting you know.
Right.
Cobb County, Georgia prison guard meant that this guy was a racist fucking piece of
Right.
shit. Like
Right.
it didn't matter. You're like, oh, you're a prison guard from Cobb County, Georgia. Oh, I get
Yeah.
it. You burn crosses on people's yards. You don't
Right,
have,
right. Literally, like it couldn't have been right. Yeah. So I mean, that era of wrestling was fucking pathetic. Yeah, I mean, uh, they fucked up Tito Santana. Think about that.
I
Like
know.
they made him a fucking bull. Like, oh, but did they ever do anything with Tito and the bull guy? What was his name? Mantar. I wonder if they ever
I
did
don't think
anything with
Mantar
him.
was around long enough.
Oh, yeah, that would have been funny. But
Mantar,
to do like
but for anyone that doesn't know, he was half man, half minotaur, or like a minotaur. Basically, he was like
right,
he came to the ring with like a big like bull's head thing
right,
that he took it off to wrestle, obviously, but it's like what the and then when he took it off, it was weird because he had like he's like a fat guy with like the big
right,
belly.
right.
He's like a big belly fat guy, and he had like the tights, no leggings, tights, so he like looks fatter. And then I think
Right.
he had it almost looked like bondage straps, like
Yeah, he
kind of
did.
like
He wore a bondage strap. Yeah.
which I think was to help like
Yeah.
strap the fucking headpiece to him. But then when
Right,
that came
right.
off, he looked like he came out of a bondage dungeon. You know,
Yeah, it was like the worst gimmick. And then
it
you
didn't
know the other
last
two
long.
gimmicks?
It's so funny
No.
because I think we were in Atlanta for WrestleMania years later.
Right.
I mean, he hadn't been Mantar in forever. He hadn't been with the company in forever. And Jackie goes and leans over. He goes, "Is that fucking Mantar over there?" And I look over. It's this schlubby looking bald dude. Like he kind of looked like a Biff Slater looking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but if anyone doesn't know who Biff Slater is, look it up. He was an independent wrestler in Central Florida. I'm like, I think so. And so we went over. I have a picture with Mantar. Like of all the people I ever thought I would
Right.
never get, like whoever thinks they're going to get a picture with Mantar. I hold it.
The funny part,
It's almost as cool as my picture with Antonio Inoki, to be honest with you.
That's cool, but I feel like the Mantar picture is like my vision is you standing there all excited, him sitting in a chair, like slumped over, old and bald and fat, and he's got on one of those like shirts that like my grandpa used to wear with like it's like a button, it's like a collared shirt with a pocket, and it's like that's what I picture. And he's just there miserable, and he's just like looking up at the camera with only his eyes.
Can I tell you?
He's so miserable.
He could not have been more thrilled to be recognized
Really?
and happy to take pictures. Because
No
you got to
shit.
think about it. Like he probably went to the bar because we're at the WWE official
Right.
hotel. We're at the central bar, this giant hotel, giant bar, and like everyone's hanging and partying. And he probably went there to kind of bump into some people from the old days and just say hi because he
Right.
probably lives there. And for two people to recognize him was probably the highlight of his fucking weekend, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah. I wonder if he's alive still.
He's got to be. He wasn't that old. I think he's probably like early 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit. Huh. Yeah, and then the two other guys that I thought of were whatever happened to Ludwig Borga? Do you remember that Ludwig Borga?
I mean, I know the
That
name,
character.
yeah, but I don't know what
He
happened to
was
him.
like a yeah, he was there for like a minute. He was like the gimmick was like he was some Swedish like wrestler. Like
Right.
it probably wasn't even Swedish. And then the other one was Bastion Booger.
Bastion
What the
Booger.
fuck was his gimmick supposed to be?
I don't know. Because again, that was during the era where I wasn't watching. That was during the
He
shit
was
era.
like Bastion Booger was a big fat
It
uh
was same idea as Mantar, like a big
right,
bellied, pot bellied fat guy in like
right.
tights with not leggings, with with your fat legs showing and everything like that.
Did you know that he was Norman the Lunatic in WCW?
No, but I don't know who
Bastion Booger was
I don't know who Norman the Lunatic was in WCW either.
oh,
So
you don't remember that?
no, I was probably before my time. Like I didn't really start watching WCW, and I literally started watching WCW when I was flipping through our. We had one of those pirate boxes that got all the channels from cable,
Right.
and I discovered the pay-per-view after Bash at the Beach, where Hogan's already wearing the black and white, but it was like the first pay-per-view after he turned heel, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I didn't not watch a single episode of wrestling after I fucking discovered that. I was back in with WCW and WWE immediately, just watching everything.
There's a Bastion. I'm looking it up. There's a Bastion Booger wrestling toy. I feel like I have to find that
Wrestling tour?
toy.
Oh, toy. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he was on a roster when at some point when they made a
He died at 53.
Bastion Booger
But
died. I didn't even know he died.
53. He was 2010. But here's the best part. I looked it up because I was curious, but uh, I didn't know this. Before he was Bastion Booger, he was brought into WWE in 1993 in April as the Friar Ferguson, known as the Mad Monk, and
You
that was
go
his
from
gimmick.
Friar Ferguson to Bastion Booger. It's like
Wait. Here's why. Wait. WWE received negative feedback from the Catholic Church of New York, so they dropped the character and changed him to Bastion Booger in June. A gimmick of an unkempt, glutinous man who wrestled in a dinghy, too small, gray beige singlet, tailored to give him the appearance of a hunchback.
yeah.
I
I'm looking at
mean,
I'm looking at Mantar. He's 54 years old.
okay.
His debut as Mantar was in 1991. So yeah, I was
Just
in
so
college.
that era of wrestling, 91, 92, 93, 94. That's when you had, I mean, come on, they made this guy a monk and called him the Mad Monk Friar Ferguson. Like, seriously, who sat in a meeting and thought that was a good idea?
I mean, you could have fun with that on an independent level,
Right.
but
Like, it's like a Bobby Rogers thing.
on TV, yeah,
Right.
you got the Catholic Church up your ass.
Right. That was a bad time of wrestling. I literally, yeah, I didn't start watching it until WCW, I guess, got hot. ECW, but yeah, I stopped watching
Yeah, but I mean,
for
I
that
discovered
period. It was
ECW
so
after that too.
bad.
I discovered
Right,
all of it.
right,
I just, but
right.
before
And I
that,
went to, yeah,
I was,
yeah,
I graduated from college. I was knee deep in like friends and a cool job and a girlfriend and everything, and then just discovered it one day,
yeah, yeah,
rediscovered it, whatever.
yeah. Same thing, me too. And it was like, oh, okay, but yeah, AEW gives you that feel though again of like that era when I rediscovered wrestling. That's how I feel with AEW. Like
Well,
it's bringing my love back of wrestling.
for me, it's definitely a mix of my of the good old days of WCW
Right,
and the what do you call it, the and a lot of ECW. Maybe a little too
right.
much ECW, to be honest with you.
I mean, for national television, yeah.
Yeah, a
So
little too
with the
much.
cursing
I
and
think a little too much blood and guts.
yeah, and the cursing is insane. I mean, they say the word shit like it's nobody's business.
Well, they don't bleep them, so apparently,
Right,
basic cable has gotten lax enough where that's an acceptable word, and you don't even have
right, yeah,
there's not like a limit, like you're allowed to a show or something. It's like just like
right,
say what you want. So
yeah. But yeah, that was yeah. Wrestling sucked back then, but yeah, no. I mean, AEW is it's funny because in the late '90s, Attitude NWA, like, you had pay-per-view parties and everybody talked about wrestling. Even to school, everybody was wearing NWO shirts and DX shirts, and everybody talked about wrestling and, suck it and all the, all that stuff. And I feel like now, last night, we're all messaging, my buddies at work who, like, AEW kind of rejuvenated them to start watching wrestling. A lady I work with said, "Oh, my husband's watching it. Like, he wasn't a wrestling fan for a long time. Like, it really brought people back to wrestling. To once people see it, even my dad, he hates fucking wrestling these days. He's like, it's trash. And he's watched AEW a couple of times, flipping through channels, and he's like, I watched the whole thing. Like, it was entertaining. Like, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Wrestling it's not been entertaining for a really long time. So it's refreshing to see that, But yeah, everybody was texting this morning too. A couple people from work texting me like, "Did you see the promo?" Like it was like we were at the water cooler talking about it again. Like that hasn't happened in so long.
Well, that's the thing that WWE hasn't done in a long, long, long time.
Right. They don't give me that feeling, right? Ever. No, I could care to watch it. I could give two shits about it if it's on Monday nights. I did try watching NXT. It's unwatchable. It's not even a watchable product. It's just not, But yeah, I don't know. What sucks is it's we got to wait till Wednesday again because I really don't watch Friday night
stuff. I do, but I don't watch it live. I watch it like
you tape it
over sometime over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Monday's podcast, I guess, would be it's gonna be good, man. There's some good wrestling stories. Look, I know people may be bored with us talking wrestling, but think about it. We're only like 90 days away from football season, so.
Oh, and buddy, I'm planning to talk some football. That's for sure.
Right. Well, hopefully the Dolphins are.
My team might be.
We might actually have something to talk about. The Giants don't. So
might be worth talking about. That's for sure.
Right. So I mean, it could be actually a good football season.
Did you get? I sent you a picture.
Now?
Yeah, go take a look at it.
Uh-oh. Is that him?
That's Mantar.
The best part is he looks like he's like he just got off a hard day of work in like New York City as like a Wall Street or something. He looks beat. And who's giving him the bunny ears in the background?
I don't know. That might be Jackie or that might be me. No, it's got girl. It's got to be a girl because it's got like a bracelet.
Girl, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be Jackie.
It's probably Danielle or someone like that.
Yeah, probably one of your old rats from back in the day.
One of my kooky female friends from the wrestling days.
Right. So, side note, Francisco Ciazzo finally saw my post from last night, and he laughed at it. But the funny thing is there was a comment that now
you were obviously taking a shot at him, but
of course, right.
But he does have a Ciazzo vibe to him, but he's way better than Francisco Ciazzo ever was.
Well, what's funny is someone commented and said, "Why is he a fat, drugged up thief?"
Oh,
that's what someone commented. I also I laughed at the comment because I mean it's true. So,
well, who's he? But is he calling? But here's the question: Is he saying?
Oh, he's calling Frankie.
Okay, he's calling Frankie the fat drugged up thief.
Yeah. Me and this guy had sidebar conversation already about him. But somebody asked me today. So are the Slambinos? I see you tagged him. Are you guys cool? And I said, I don't hold a grudge. Like, look, will I ever hang out with him or wrestle with him? Or no, like that's never going to happen. But I'm not holding a grudge against him. I mean, we all know what happens when you hold a grudge. That guy ends up dying, like Blake did to Jackie. So I just don't want Frankie to die.
Jesus Christ! Working stiff, my friend. Working stiff. Jeez.
Just saying. I'm just saying. And as we're speaking, I get a text message on my work phone. MJF promo, abso-freaking-lutely amazing from somebody.
Oh, just from a rando? I mean,
yeah, guy I work with, he's in South Carolina. I haven't seen this guy in forever. So I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's brought back wrestling for us old guys who've got nothing left in our lives. So
Well, I mean, you had to think that AEW was going to do a better job of bringing back old fans than creating
right,
new ones, because you
right,
create new ones more at the young age. And I think the young age
yeah,
is WWE. And then once those
right,
kids kind of outgrow WWE, they either leave wrestling or they go, "Oh, what's this over here? This is more my taste." I don't think.
right.
I mean, granted, in the Attitude Era, they were creating new fans from every walk of life and every age group. But I think
Yeah.
that's a rarity, and I don't think AEW would have to get really fucking hot to be able to start doing that.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
it feels like they have one character that could be. MJF has the potential to transcend that megawatt superstar status that no one has anymore, that no one's had
Agree.
since John Cena. You
He's
know,
that guy.
the,
He's that
since
guy.
since
Yeah.
Rock, Austin, John Cena. I think
Yep.
that's been it. I don't think,
He is the guy.
yeah, or
Yeah, I
like
agree
as
with
a
you. He's
collective,
that guy.
or as like a collective group, NWO or
Right, right.
DX was.
Or even Orton. Right.
Orton
Yeah.
isn't a megawatt. Like, he's not outside of wrestling. He's not a household name. Inside,
Oh no, no, no,
you
no,
know what I
no.
mean? Like,
Okay, I
that's what
think
I'm
yeah,
saying.
right, right, right,
Transcending it.
right,
Like, you don't see
right.
Randy Orton getting like ravioli
No,
commercials.
no.
You know what I mean? That kind of
Right.
shit.
No, no, no. Right. I agree with you 100%. So yeah, he's that guy, and he's the only guy. NXT does not have any of those guys.
No,
Uh, so, but yeah, so yeah, Wednesday again.
I don't know. You're breaking up, anyways. You must be.
I'm breaking up.
Yeah, you
No,
were.
I'm not doing anything. I'm in
It
the
was
same spot.
it was getting glitchy. I don't know what it was.
Oh.
Anyway,
All right. Well, hey, good day, Sunday.
right. Well, anyway, I'm really fucking done with you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
I love
so
you too.
I started this thing exhausted. So
Yeah.
so thanks for that.
Okay.
And
Yeah. You're welcome.
yeah, whatever. And
All right.
and at 3 o'clock Sunday, I will be crossing my fingers that you've even remembered.
I got you.
So